Do you suffer from painful, heavy periods, PMS, mood swings, or migraines? Are you tired of being told they are just normal parts of life? Or are you afraid your child's going to suffer these symptoms too? At Vividis, the full of life company, we take the pain, misery, and confusion out of those menstrual cycles and replace them with tools of empowerment and time management so you can be Vividis. Visit embracingflowpodcast.com for more information on transforming your cycles from ow to wow. Information shared on the Embracing Flow podcast is for educational purposes only. It does not constitute medical advice.
Ever felt frustrated being told PMS, heavy bleeding, and cramping are just normal parts of life? You're not alone. I loathed my monthly cycle for decades. That all changed when I earned 3 health coaching certifications discovering something incredible. Your period is vital. It is an outward sign of your inner health, and it holds the key to unlocking your full potential. I've been there battling heavy, painful periods, and I turn them into cycles with minimal PMS and cramping. Today, I'm on a mission to share that information with you. Pour a cup of your favorite drink, get comfy, and grab your headphones as we embark on a candid and empowering journey of self-discovery. Together, we'll demystify menstrual cycles, explore cyclical living, delve into natural birth control, and guide parents through those crucial period talks with tweens and teens. It's time to break the taboo around menstruation and embrace the wisdom it holds. I'm your host, Heather Allmendinger, and this is the Embracing Flow podcast.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us on Embracing Flow. I'd like to introduce our guest today, an expert at Embracing Flow, Jen Navon. Did I say that last name correctly, Jen?
Navon. Oh
Navon.
my.
I even have it on there. Welcome, Jen. I'm so happy to have you here on Embracing Flow. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, wonderful. Listeners, this is why Jen is on today. She is a certified functional health coach. She went from being a high school math teacher to a health coach after struggling with her own health for years and overcoming SIBO, endometriosis, amenorrhea, and immune system dysregulation. You've been through a lot, Jen. Oh my goodness.
Yes, I have. It's been quite the journey.
And we will definitely get into that journey and see how she processed that journey, where she's at now, and what she's doing. Before we do that, would you be open to sharing one of your first cycle stories and about what age were you when you started your cycle?
Yes. Okay. So my first period, I got last day of 5th grade. So I was 11 years old. I vividly remember I was sitting there. I was like, oh my gosh, I think I got my period. And then I didn't know what to do. So I went off to the pool with my friend. It was the last day of 5th grade, jumping right into summer. And that's all I really remember from that first period. But I was so embarrassed and ashamed. I did not tell my mom for 6 or 7 months. And I hid it from her. And I was like sneaking, because she had pads and stuff ready for me when that time came. And I was sneaking them and using them. And then at one point, I accidentally left wrappers out. And then she asked me when I came home I was in 6th grade at this point. She asked me when I came home from middle school, and I just started crying. And she was she hugged me and she was like, oh, congratulations. It's your woman now. So it was a very positive experience from then on, but it just felt very taboo. I was embarrassed of it. I didn't really know. We didn't have a lot of open talk about it in my family, but my mom was very excited for me.
I'm still trying to figure out what that whole, oh, you're a woman now means. Well, wasn't I a young woman before?
Right.
But I got the same comment from my grandmother. I got the same comment from my great-grandmother. They called me up. They were congratulating me. I'm like, what is so exciting about this thing?
Yeah.
That is going to happen every single month for the next 3 to 4 decades, if not longer. Other than, okay, I need to be careful here because I was 10 and a half when I got mine. But I'm like, other than getting pregnant, what's so great about this?
Right.
Really? Having children, what's so great about this? Now I know why.
Yeah, me too. Now I
is.
understand. And when I get my period, I get very excited.
Yes. Now I understand how it's our superpower.
Mhm.
Instead of going into all of that, how did you get to where you are today? What was that journey like? Because you had a lot of serious stuff going on. And for those that don't understand what SIBO is, would you share that? I had to, like I said, look it up because I wasn't exactly sure what that was. We're familiar with endometriosis. Some of them are familiar with amenorrhea, also known as missing a period. So, could you take us on that journey?
Yeah. So it started in about 2016. So about 8 years ago, I really decided I wanted to dial in on my health. And I've always been healthy and active and food conscious, but I like really wanted to just really dial in on my nutrition. So I started to make some positive changes, but I was having some GI symptoms. And at this time, I was on the birth control pill. So, about a year and a half later, I decided to come off the birth control pill, and that's where things started to go a little downhill. So, I had some major GI symptoms like bloating and gas and constipation. And after I got off the pill, I actually lost my period. So, post pill amenorrhea. Now, I was trying to navigate this. I was like, do I go to my regular doctor? Do I find somebody in the functional health space? So it was like teetering like back and forth, not really sure where to go. So I ended up falling into the functional health space and I did some different gut tests. I did a SIBO breath test. SIBO is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. So that's when the bacteria in your colon makes its way into the small intestine. And the small intestine has bacteria, just not as much as the colon. So in my case, I had too much in my small intestine. So I went through several protocols to heal my gut. I had eventually gotten my cycle back, but things still weren't right. So, about 3 years ago, I was in pelvic floor therapy and we were just really trying to get my pelvic floor muscles to relax, and they just weren't. So we decided that it was time to explore the possibility of endometriosis. Now, I'm very fortunate. I never really had super painful periods, but my endo was showing up in my digestion. So it was impact my ability to have complete bowel movements and again, like bloating, just a lot of discomfort. So I went in for surgery October of 2022 and they did find endo. And luckily I had an amazing surgeon. She removed it all. And from there, it's just been really a journey of getting my inflammation down, supporting my immune system, really preventing the endo from coming back, balancing my hormones. And now I'm dealing with a mold problem. So me and my husband just moved. So we're in a new apartment. It feels really good. So now that's hopefully the final piece of my health journey. Like I don't want to deal with anything else. But yeah, it's been a long one and a continuous one, but I've learned so much along the way so I can better help my clients now.
And you were a math teacher before all this.
Yes, yes. I didn't even include that. So 2 years ago, I left teaching, and because of my health journey, I just was so passionate about it, and I loved teaching, but I wanted to make an impact in a deeper way, and I knew I could do that through health coaching. So yeah, I've been out of teaching for 2 years.
It's amazing how our health kind of pushes us in a different direction.
Mhm.
Uh, it and just how where we started and where we end up are sometimes completely opposite,
Yeah.
or not even thought of where we're at. What were some of the things with your journey that you found helped you with some of those symptoms? Because you are, as you said, you're fortunate with your endo that it wasn't those heavier periods, those painful periods. It was more gastrointestinal.
Mhm.
How are you keeping it from coming back? Because I know that there are some that they get it, they have the surgery and it comes back. Uh, what are some of those things that you're doing to help with that? Or even let's just start with that one. We can go from there.
Yeah. So making sure my gut microbiome is balanced. There is such a connection with irritable bowel syndrome and endometriosis. I think the statistic is 90%, it's either 80 or 90% of women with endo also have IBS. So really making sure my gut microbiome is balanced is helping to reduce the inflammation that's in the pelvic area because everything is so close together. And then, of course, removing any inflammatory foods. So I personally am sensitive to gluten, so I stay away from gluten. Any external inflammatory triggers as well. So again, in my case, mold. I often wonder if the mold, being in the mold situation, is what had worsened my GI stuff as well as contributed to the endometriosis. I don't know if I had it before. There's no way of knowing that, but I lived in the same apartment for 5 years, and that's when my symptoms were at its worst. So, yeah, just really, really removing myself from any potential triggers. And if we're looking at it from a supplemental or diet standpoint, supplements using different types of herbs to address the gut microbiome, probiotics and probiotic rich foods and prebiotic rich foods to help feed the beneficial bacteria in the gut and balancing hormones. We want to make sure that estrogen and progesterone are balanced. There is an estrogen dominance aspect to endometriosis. So not only do we want to make sure estrogen isn't much higher than progesterone in a specific ratio, we need to make sure we're detoxing it properly. So the liver needs to be open. We need to be having bowel movements every day. If estrogen is coming back high, using some specific support to help get it out of the body and just high antioxidants. I love sulforaphane and resveratrol and glutathione. There's a lot of different supplements you can use, but also a lot of different foods you can eat to get those antioxidants.
Yeah. I spoke to a functional medicine doctor not too long ago, and he actually even said 80% of those that were diagnosed with an autoimmune disease are women.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of it, the contributing factor or the root cause is that estrogen dominance.
Hmm.
And that completely floored me with that statistic. And I was just like, makes a lot of sense to me. It really truly does with my background and everything. And I'm sure it makes sense for you as well. But
Hmm.
for the average individual who might be dealing with endo and an autoimmune disease, either IBS, fibromyalgia, or any of them, many ones that have come up over the last few years, it's going back to our cycles. It's going back to those hormones that are
Yes.
out of alignment and what we can do to bring them back into alignment outside of medical suppression.
Yeah.
Uh,
And there's a saying that there's 3 times in a woman's life that we typically see autoimmune diseases flare: puberty, pregnancy, and menopause. And that's because in all 3 of those, you're having crazy shifts in hormones. Puberty, you're having all those surges of hormones. Pregnancy, you're also getting a surge, a little bit different hormones. And then menopause, you're getting roller coasters, ups and downs. But yeah, I would have to agree with that. It's all about balance. And every woman's body is different.
mhm.
So some women need DIM, others need sulforaphane. So it's really comes down to what do you need individually?
Yep. And that's where I educate on this. I not specifically the supplements, but it's getting to know your body, getting to know your cycle. So that way, if you do realize you may have an estrogen dominance or progesterone deficiency, or you're noticing that the symptoms of endo or anything like that, you can look at your cycle and go, okay, this is what's going on, and address it in a positive way versus going and just being placed on a medication that may or may not help you and then lead to other conditions later in life.
Mhm.
I mean, could that mold have flared your endo? You don't know. It wasn't until you got into that situation, as you said. So If you would have known it 3 years prior to that, oh, my cycles are a little bit different. Maybe I don't know. I might be just going off on a tangent there.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, I am a huge proponent of cycle tracking, and I know that you talk about that, and especially with young women, knowing your cycle is a superpower. It is so cool because if you track your cycle when you're getting your period, there's no such thing as a surprise, right? When you're tracking, and that's one thing that has really helped me taking my basal body temperature and tracking cervical mucus. It just and legit tracking symptoms. It's so amazing because you know what to predict and you also can reflect back and say, "Oh, like that period was really hard. Well, what happened over the last 3 months that maybe impacted that cycle?" Or let's say you move into a new place. Oh, all of a sudden, like my luteal phase is getting shorter. What changed? So it's very cool to reflect on that data. I was a math teacher. I'm a data nerd.
You're the data nerd, I'm the period nerd because I do just like you said, I am very much period positive. Learn your cycle because it is our superpower. It really truly is. And then not only just to know when your period's gonna arrive, it can also help you plan out your weeks, your month, and your year in cycle. Because if you have a regular cycle, you know what to do during different activities,
Mhm.
when to do those higher workouts, when to rest or do the gentler workouts, when to hang out with your kids and have the sleepovers with your kids' friends versus, all right, everybody out of the house, it's snuggle time with the kids week. And you can communicate that with your partner, you can communicate that with your kids. So that way it it really truly is one of our superpowers. Outside of the supplements, with amenorrhea and with gut health, and we mentioned that there is definitely that connection. Are there certain foods to look for or to weave within your cycle to help remove that excess estrogen that can cause issues and to potentially increase? I know that there's nothing that really increases progesterone, but there's foods that help support the body's production of progesterone. Is there anything that you can share with us in that realm?
Yes. So if we're looking at amenorrhea and gut health, if your gut is in a bad place or not optimal, it is a stressor on the body. And any type of stressor on the body can cause hormone production to shut down. So if you are experiencing irregular periods or super long cycles or a missing period, amenorrhea, I want to encourage you to really take a look at internal stressors like your gut health, like your thyroid, as well as external stressors. Because the first thing to go is going to be your sex hormones because your body's not going to make a baby and if you're constantly in fight or flight. So, yeah, so definitely addressing stressors and also with amenorrhea, just looking at in a whole picture, making sure you are eating enough. If you are constantly under fueling and over exercising or over exerting, again, the endocrine system is going to shut down. Your body's not going to want to make a baby because it doesn't feel safe. So eating at maintenance or above maintenance is very important for overall healthy hormone production. If we're looking at supporting estrogen detoxification, I love cruciferous vegetables, broccoli sprouts, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, cabbage. Incorporating those throughout the month is wonderful, especially if you are a little bit more prone to estrogen dominance. And I also love seed cycling. I like to use pumpkin seeds and flax seeds in the follicular phase. They're high in zinc and magnesium and can help, and flax seeds are a estrogen, so it can help with estrogen detoxification. And then in the luteal phase, you do pumpkin seeds and sesame seeds, which can help boost progesterone. Also, too, to tie in, I talked about the immune system a little bit ago. Fasting is really good for the immune system. It's stimulating what we call autophagy, which is the body's self-cleaning system. Fasting is really great in your follicular phase because fasting can help get rid of some of that excess estrogen. Fasting, not so good in the luteal phase because it can plummet progesterone. So, just like another side note, if any woman is maybe dabbling in intermittent fasting, avoid that in your luteal phase because we want progesterone to be robust, and progesterone likes carbs, and progesterone likes energy and food.
Which is why once you ovulate, you might be craving the higher carbs, the more comfort foods, especially getting closer to when menstruation will start. You want that you're feeling more hungry. Uh, and I've seen that amongst my clients. I've heard that amongst individuals that I've spoken to. They're like, why am I so stinking hungry? I wasn't this hungry 2 days ago. I cannot stop eating. And I'm like, you're probably in your luteal phase. Well, what do you mean? Well, you've most likely ovulated, and that's one of the things that happens in that phase is your body craves those comfort foods. It
Yeah.
craves those good carbohydrates, those sweet potatoes, and even the broccoli and the Brussels sprouts. If you think of fall, the good fall foods, Thanksgiving kind of foods,
Uh-huh.
because I talk on cyclical living.
Mhm.
And for those that are no longer menstruating, be it medical or menopausal, I sometimes we talk moon, but sometimes we talk seasons.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I talk about the autumn phase and the
Mhm.
autumn foods and what you're experiencing in the autumn foods. And it pairs up very well with Luteal. So yeah, those nice comforting foods, but you're hungry. Oh my goodness, are you hungry? And I thank you for bringing up about seed cycling and sharing with that, as well as even the follicular and the fasting.
Mhm.
Fasting is a wonderful way to help our bodies regenerate good cells, healthy cells, and get into a better place. But yes, fasting during luteal may not be your best because you are
Mhm.
going to be hungry. And if you want to fast in luteal, you're going to fail. Then you're going to be like, no, I don't want to say you're going to fail. You can successfully do it in luteal. It could be a struggle.
Right.
And then you'll be like, why am I cheating? I can't do this. And then it just, it's better to do in follicular.
Yeah, absolutely. It can if and that ties into listening and knowing your body. Sometimes it's not meant to be, and it's not because you're weak or because you just can't do it. There's a physiological thing going on, and once we can understand that, we can work with it and not against it.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. Yes, there's a lot that we could unpack on just cyclical living and how that all works. But I don't what are some when you have clients that come to you that have our post pill, what are some things that you notice that's common across the board that has helped them or some of the symptoms? So, because I know I come across individuals, they're like, I'm tired of being on the patch or the pill or the the implant, the IUD, but I don't know what to do. I'm afraid. I had horrible cycles when before I went on. I got on this medication. I don't like how I feel. I want to get off, but I'm afraid to. Or I had to get off of it. My doctor refused to put me on it anymore because of my health conditions.
Mhm.
What are some things that you have seen that may help individuals that are to support them as they transition off or once they're off to help them kind of balance out and put in alignment those hormones that our body really likes making?
Yeah. So if I have a client who is on hormonal birth control, I will put them through what we call a flush. And the flush is meant to detox the body. So we include specific support to help detox the liver but also specific support to help detox the synthetic hormone that is in their body. And the crazy thing about hormonal birth control is, especially if you're looking at the pill, this itty bitty little tiny thing can cause so much disruption on the body. It impacts your brain, it impacts your heart, your digestive tract, like your liver, kidneys, everything. And it's so important to be looking at the body as a whole. Like everything in your body has been impacted. So flushing that out of the system, making sure that you're eating enough whole foods, avoiding processed foods. This is a good time to incorporate those cruciferous vegetables. Usually incorporate seed cycling as well. And replenishing the body of depleted nutrients. The birth control pill will deplete the body of B vitamins, zinc, magnesium, vitamin D, vitamin K, vitamin E. So, really replenishing those vitamins, but always testing first to see what the client may be low in. So again, like I always take a food first approach and see what we can do with food. But a lot of times we do need supplemental support just for that specific phase to help get their body rebalanced again.
Yeah, it does take time. And I'm happy to hear that's the way that you go through that. And yes, it does. That tiny little pill does impact us. And when I talk to preteens, I do a course for those that are going into sixth grade,
Mm.
uh, talking about puberty and everything else. We talk about how our cycle impacts every single body system,
Mhm.
why we need estrogen, why we need progesterone, how it impacts our nervous system, our cardiovascular system, our bones and muscles, all of it. And it's interesting looking at the faces of these young ladies, and they're like, I didn't realize, and even the moms.
Yeah.
It's even better looking at seeing the moms' faces. They're like, I didn't realize how impactful what our ovaries make to the entire body.
Yeah.
It, there's a missed opportunity to share how important our reproductive system is to our entire body. I don't even know how to describe it, but it is an important, integral part of our system. And
Yeah.
when we suppress those hormones and we suppress the communication between the brain and the ovaries with that medication, it wreaks havoc.
Mhm.
Divorces have happened because a
Yeah.
woman has come off of hormonal birth control to try and have a baby, and they look at their husband going, what was I thinking?
Right. Pheromones, they're different. They're different.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. And there have been multiple situations where I've had like friends or I've been in like public bathrooms and I hear women make comments like, oh, thank God I don't have my period anymore. Or I wish I could just have a hysterectomy so that I don't have to have my period anymore. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like my goal as a woman is to keep my period for as long as possible because I want those hormones. They are so protective, estrogen and progesterone and testosterone, so protective of the entire body from a neurological standpoint, cardiovascular health, muscle, skin, bones. Oh my gosh, I'm so passionate about it. I actually just got my mom set up with HRT. So I'm like so excited. And my dad with TRT. So let's keep you guys young.
I
But it's so misunderstood. It's not just a bleed. It's so much
no,
more than that.
no. And that's the most inconvenient part is the bleed.
Yes.
And I fell into the category originally of I wanted this gone. I really did. I was tired of the bleeding. I was tired of the pain. I was tired of bloating. I was tired of the mood swings. I was just tired of all of it. And I had an IUD for 6 years,
Mhm.
and I had that removed when I went in for my annual and they found some irregular cells.
Mm.
So they did some procedures. They removed the IUD because one, it had about to expire. And they said, all right, what do you want to go on for the next 6 months? Then I was like, you know what? It's 6 months. I'm in my late 40s. Let me just see what's going on here. Let's give my body a break before I start pumping any medications.
Mhm.
Because if this condition comes back in 6 months, I'm looking at a possible hysterectomy. So why do I want to put medications in my body? I'm not a big, huge medication fan. I don't even like really taking pain relievers unless I
Mhm.
absolutely positively have to. And that's when I got to understand my cycle. And I had heavy periods first. I just want to back when I first started my cycles and my period, they were heavy. They were painful. They were not, I hated it, but I was like, all right, this is the only way that I can have kids. And I wanted children.
Mhm.
So I suffered through it. But this 6-month time frame was where I really dove deep and I actually now enjoy my cycles.
Yeah.
I have pain-free cycles. I was like, holy baloney. How did I not know this?
Yeah.
And that's when I got into all of the health, how it impacts everything in our body. And I'm like, and that's how I became so passionate about what I do. And I had this rush of you need to stand on the rooftops and scream how vital it is to still have your period. And I'm very happy that I am in considered late 40s. I know I'm in perimenopause. I know that my cycle's changing, but I know what's going on. I know when it's going to
Mhm.
arrive. And I love the ladies that say, "Oh, you're in perimenopause. You don't know you can't track your cycle in perimenopause." I was told you can't track your cycle in perimenopause. I'm like, I ask who, and they're like, "Oh, well, my doctor." I said, "No offense to your doctor, but yeah, you can, and I'm
Yeah.
proof of it, and I can teach you how to do it." Uh,
Mm.
but it just, I'm proud to still be a bleeder,
Mhm.
and for me, that is huge because until my mid 40s, I was still afraid to take hygiene products to a male cashier. So and I tell people this because they're like, "Oh, you must not have had horrible periods." Oh, no, I did.
Mhm.
My mom would get a phone call every single month from the nurse's office. "Hey, Heather's in here. She can't keep anything in her stomach. She can't move. She's in pain." And my mom's like, "Give her Tylenol, send her back to class."
Mhm.
So to say, yes, you can through the nutrition, through the seed cycling, through understanding your body,
Mhm.
you can have periods aren't to be painful.
Yeah, and that's the goal, symptom-free periods. I mean, I do think, again, dialing in and understanding your body during your period, are going to be a little bit more lethargic. Your body's working hard to shed a lining that's spent all month building, and that's okay. Slight cramping, that's okay. Again, your muscles are contracting, but we should not be in the nurse's office wanting to go home, like vomiting, doubled over pain, can't get out of bed. It doesn't have to be like that. There's so much you can do through lifestyle, diet, and supplementation, and even functional health testing to really figure out what's going on a deeper level.
Yep. And I, like I said, I am one of the only females in my family that is above 30 that still has everything intact.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody else is, I'm done. Take it out. And I'm
No,
like,
oh goodness, I'm like, I just want to scream, "Don't do that!" But I mean, if the thing is, if that is what you want, the doctor needs to, in my opinion, have a discussion of you. Well, what do I do next?
mhm,
Is HRT being talked about? Every woman deserves that discussion and that option, providing they're the right candidate. Of course, there
yeah.
are some women who aren't
Mhm,
candidates for that. But if you're taking a uterus and an ovaries out, that that
yeah.
you're putting somebody into surgical menopause, and you're forcing their body into something that it's potentially not ready for yet, and that can have detrimental impacts later in life.
Mhm,
So I mean, I'm a big advocate, like, every doctor needs to be having that discussion with their patient.
yeah. Finding out why they're looking at having that removed. For
Mhm.
me, before I knew what I know now, it was I'm done having kids. I can't have any more kids.
Mhm.
My body, the way it was not able to carry another child to term. Now I'm in better shape, but at that point, when I had my youngest son, they're like, "Please, your body will not be able to carry another child to term. What birth control do you want to go on?" And I was like,
Right.
"No, thanks, not right now." And but having that conversation on, well, why? And I see it, oh, well, I'm tired of bleeding every month. I don't want my period every month. I don't want, again, a lot of the symptoms that we have and that we complain about, the bloating, the fatigue, the mood swings. They're tired of it. And then they go on medical suppression of some form, and then they're having other side effects. They're
Mhm.
having the headaches, they're having the auras, they're having the migraines, they're still having the bloating. Their mood swings are even 10
Even
times
worse.
worse.
Oh,
Yeah.
mine were so bad when I was on birth control. My husband, who's my boyfriend at the time, he'd be like, "Are you getting your period?" Like he knew. And I'm like, I'm like, don't know why I'm crying right now.
I was on Depo and I was married
Goodness.
to my ex-husband at the time. And he looked at me and he goes, "When is this medication done?" And I was like, "I've got another few weeks." Why? He goes, "You will not get another shot. If you
Yeah.
get another shot, we are getting a divorce." I'm like, "Wow, it's been that bad." He's like, "Yes, you are an absolute witch on that medication."
Yeah. It's so crazy what it does to the body. Oh
Yeah,
my
that
gosh.
that had nothing to do with our divorce, but no, I didn't like being on Depo. I didn't like my body. I didn't like how I would react to things.
Mhm.
I would bleed 3 weeks out of 4. I'm like,
Yeah.
"This is not right.
Mhm.
This isn't
Right.
right." And I didn't like the combo pill wasn't bad. The IUD, I was like, "Hey, no period, great for me. I love it." Now I know why I need that period.
Yeah.
And now it's like, I'm happy. I'm happy to have it. I'm happy to still have it. I'm happy to have it on a regular basis. My cycle's shortened, but I still have it on a regular basis and I love it.
Yeah, for sure. I was the same way with the birth control pill. I couldn't even tell you which pills I was on. I think I was on every single one. And I was just like, had breakthrough bleeding all the time. And I ended up bleeding more than I did before even being on the pill. And I was like, you know what? I'm done. I got the Natural Cycles app, like when it first, actually, I got the Daisy when that first came out. And I was like, just going to learn. I'm going to learn how to track my cycle. Because if you know when you're ovulating, you can prevent pregnancy.
Yep.
And I think again, that's just super powerful. And like ovulation, like you are a superwoman at that time anyway. So learning how to lean into that.
Yep. And you track your cycle with basal body temperature, correct? In
Yeah.
addition,
So
okay.
yep, I have an Aura ring. I see that you have one on too. So
So
I've been using this, and then I also use my natural cycles temperature under my tongue because I like to compare the data, and then cervical mucus. Oh, and then I've been on and off with this, but the Anitu, which is at home testing. So there's a couple different brands out there. Anitu, Mira, I think is the other one. You urinate in a little cup and you stick a little stick in it, and it tells you your predicted LH, FSH, estradiol, and progesterone metabolites. So you can track your cycle doing that. And that is it's so cool because you can see when you're getting that surge, like when you're about to ovulate, and just tracking the hormones all
yep.
month long is awesome.
Yeah. And it is really neat seeing. I know months that I'm not out. It was an anovulatory cycle
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I know what my body does. And I see individuals that they're like, "Oh yeah, just because they want to prevent pregnancy naturally." And there's the, "Hey, just do the Oura ring and natural cycles." And I'm like, okay, that that will work. Just learn your cycle first.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you start that and you go right into it without understanding your cycle first, I think that's where a lot of those that are using that system find themselves to be pregnant because
Yes.
they didn't learn their cycle ahead of time. They didn't understand, and they had the algorithm, and this, as with apps, there's that algorithm. And I explained to individuals about this, and they're like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "It those apps don't say when you're ovulating."
I
They're like,
know.
"But
It's
it's always
crazy.
accurate." I'm like, "How do you know? What else are you noticing when you're ovulating?"
Yes.
And they're like, "Well, I don't know. It just says on the app." I'm like, Okay."
Right, and the apps usually just take, let's say you have a 30-day cycle, it's gonna say day 15, so it takes a halfway point. But the cool thing about using, I mean, like basal body temperature, but using those at-home urine tests is that not all women ovulate halfway through. Some ovulate a little bit later and some ovulate a little bit earlier. So you're just getting that much more information to learn about your cycle. And these apps are so smart too, like the ones where you're actually collecting data because it tells you when your fertile window is.
Yep.
The more data you collect, I mean, artificial intelligence is awesome because it's just going to calculate, avoid, or use extra protection on during these 5 days of your cycle or 6 days or whatever it may be. If you're looking to prevent pregnancy, but also if you're looking to get pregnant, you
These are
also
your prime
would
days.
understand it.
Yeah. I tell people, I'm like, okay, average 28-day cycle. You could ovulate as early as day 10 and as late as day 20 to 21.
Yep. That's
It
a big
depends.
window.
It's a huge window. That's half your cycle.
Yeah.
That's like dead smack in the middle of the cycle. And they look at me like I have two heads. And I'm like, they're like, well, how do you know? Is that's where you learn about your body and what your body talks to you every single day.
Mhm.
It talks to you through your biomarkers, your cervical mucus, your temperature. It talks to you. It's you need to understand and learn your body's communication. And
Mhm.
it's not hard to do. It really isn't.
Yeah.
It's just learning it. It, and I think the more we I think more individuals are willing to understand their bodies more now than what they had been in the past. I think there's a lot of individuals that are experiencing a lot of negative side effects to the medical suppression and want a different route. So I think there's a lot more openness
Mhm.
to learning about their bodies. I think that there's been a huge shift over the last few years between, I mean, health coaching has just skyrocketed over what, 10 years?
Yeah.
You have a book.
Yes, I just came out with another ebook. It is called Endometriosis Survival Guide: How Happy Hormones Can Lead to Symptom-Free Periods.
That sounds like such an amazing ebook. It is available, correct? Or will it be
Yes, so it is I'm in the process of updating my website. So once my website is updated, that will be available for free downloads.
wonderful? And that link will be in the show notes. How can individuals find more about you, your viewpoints, how to work with you? Where can we find you?
Yeah, so best way to find me is on Instagram. My handle is at functional health Jen, and you can just shoot me a DM. I post very frequently. I'm on my stories. I love chatting, answering questions. So anyone who has questions or is just interested in connecting or interested in potentially one-on-one coaching, send me a DM and I'm happy to chat and we can set up a time to connect over Zoom.
Sounds like a fun conversation. It really truly does, especially for those that could really use your help. Maybe not exactly fun, but educational conversation.
Yes.
Before we go, do you have any wise words of wisdom to leave with us?
Listen to your intuition and trust your intuition. I can speak from experience that my intuition, especially around my health, was suppressed by the medical system and by specific doctors. I was gaslit over and over again. And I wish that I just held my ground a little bit stronger and didn't allow myself to be swayed one way or another because my intuition had always proved to be right in the long run. So if you're experiencing something and you know in your gut and in your heart that what you're experiencing is real, continue to trust that and continue to believe that. And you will come across the right practitioner or the right coach to help guide you to better health or help guide you to the answers that you're looking for.
I love it. That is some amazing words of wisdom to leave us on. Thank you so much, Jen, for taking us on a journey into your life and sharing with us about how we can improve ours, whether we have hormonal imbalances or gut health issues, endometriosis. This has been a very enlightening podcast episode. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Heather.
You are welcome. All the links that Jen mentioned can be found in the show notes. Thank you, listeners, for spending your time with us today. If you found a nugget of wisdom or a moment of empowerment, my mission is accomplished. Do you know someone who could use the information from Embracing Flow? Please share the podcast with them. And until next time, my friends, love hard, laugh often, and as always, be vividous. Talk to you soon.
Thank you so much for joining us today on Embracing Flow. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow the show, submit a rating and review, and share it with your friends. Visit my website to receive your free PDF on 4 ways to decrease PMS. The link is in the show notes. Until next time, love hard, laugh often, and as always, be vividous.
Information shared on the Embracing Flow podcast is for educational purposes only. It does not constitute medical advice.